This was always a very confusing topic for me because there was nothing else in mathematics I wasn't able to explore. Why was it that it seemed that teachers and calculators were all in a conspiracy to keep me from dividing by zero? Whenever I asked people, the rules that I often got were also very bad metaphors. Something along the lines of, well, go try to distribute 4 amongst 0 people, or go try and do division by 0. I never liked these explanations either because I had never physically gone and divided 5 amongst -5 or any of these other abstract ideas. So instead of giving a rule, let's use our models to understand what's actually occurring when we divide by 0. So we'll start off with looking at the area model. The area model, whenever we're dividing by 0, let's take, for example, 5 divided by 0, tells us that we have a rectangle whose area is size 5, and one of the side lengths is 0. And we're simply trying to figure out what the other side is. Well, this visual model now makes it incredibly obvious why we're going to have difficulty determining what that question mark is. Because anything that has 0 height does not have a height. And so it's impossible to have an area of 5 if really what this diagram is describing is something with no height, something that is flat, with a 0 area. So how can we find another number that works for the question mark and holds true for this entire model? The truth is that we can't, that this right here does not exist. There is not a single number that if we multiply it by 0 will produce an area of size 5. So this is why we're not able to divide by 0, not because we're prevented from doing so, just because there is not a number that will actually make this true. Now, as a fun little comparison, we might ask, what is 0 divided by 0? Now, we know that this is going to be an answer that we can't determine because dividing by 0 is not something that... Now, in this situation, we get an error, but not one that's the same as it is. Now, in this situation, we get an error, but not one that's the same as what happened in the previous picture. Here, 0 divided by 0 would be a 0-sized area, where one of the side lengths is also 0, and we're being asked to figure out the other. Well, 0 as a height would in fact produce a 0 area, because it would flatten this structure until there was no space on the inside. But what is the other side length that makes this possible? In truth, this could be anything, because anything times a height of 0 would not be enough to make the inside anything but a 0 area. Well, if it can be anything, and we're being asked to pin down a specific number, then we will say instead that this is undefined. So undefined does not mean that it can't work. In fact, it just means that it works for too many possible answers, so it's impossible for us to pin down the correct